Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Mike. This is gonna be a talking video. Just letting y'all know right now, it's gonna be a talking video. I'm doing like a little automotive talking vlog as I'm driving. I just had a question asked of me of why did I decide to choose the e28 over all the other cars that I could possibly choose and stuff like that. And I figured now is the time to answer that question and also give a brief car history of the vehicles that I had in my possession growing up to this point now. But before I get started, can you guys please consider liking this video, subscribing, sharing if you like. It really helps a lot. If you like what I'm doing, like the fact that we're learning together, help me help those who have an E28 as myself get that information, get that content, get that car out there. Thank you for the support that I have from the E28 groups on Facebook, for people giving me advice and give me constructive criticism and liking my videos. I really do appreciate it. I noticed that a lot of my videos will get high views but not a lot of likes, so I really appreciate this like it. It takes a second. It really does help. Like I said, I'm not getting paid for this, but I would like to have my content be out there and maybe influence other people to tackle things like this and be creative in that level to work on their vehicles and share information with other people and share together. But anyway, quick rant. I know I spoke on FedEx before and I was criticizing them for their customer service and things like that, but now I'm a little upset because I ordered some parts to work on the car, and unfortunately they said it was delivered. I called my parents and they said they didn't see it, so now I have to go through this whole claims process, and I'm hoping that we can have a resolution because I'm not spending this money again to buy the parts. And those of you who work on vehicles understand, and who might not have it like that. Some people have it like that where they got a plethora of money, they can just buy parts. They miss out, they can just recoup that loss and buy the parts. I don't have it like that. I have responsibilities to take care of. I have a wife and kid I gotta take care of, and my own personal responsibilities. And anytime I get a little bit of change that I could put aside to work on the car or spend towards the car, I can't afford for things to be missing or things to go missing. So I'm really hoping that I get a resolution with this whole situation that doesn't involve me spending more money. Anyway, car history. My very first car was a 1990 Volkswagen Jetta Wolfsburg edition. It's the same color of my car that I have now, the E28, same kind of blue interior, everything. It was my mother's car, and she kind of like had her, she was at it drove her to her wit's end, and she was like, I'm done with this car. It's slip timing, and we just had it parked up. I just got my license. I'm 18 years old. I'm fiending to have a car, so I took a little bit of money that I had when I was working, and I said, look, I'm gonna get it fixed. So I got it towed to the location. I paid the guy, I think, $190 to fix the timing belt and do those things, and I got that car running, and it gave me tremendous freedom. I was able to move around. Like at the time I lived in Far Rockaway, Queens, and it's called Far Rockaway for a reason. It's very far from everything, train wise, everything. All my friends lived in Brooklyn, and because I was originally from Brooklyn, so it's like, for me, I needed that freedom. To get to the mall, if I didn't have a car, I had to take a bus all the way to Jamaica and then take another bus or a dollar van to the mall, and it was too much. So just having a vehicle cut the time for things in half, and if not even more. So it was a great feeling. That was like my first car, you know what I mean? And I had a little tape deck, and I had the little cassette with the little audio cable that plugs into your CD player, and you press play in the CD player and it plays your music. That's for us old heads who know what I'm talking about. And y'all new cats like, what, CD players and tape decks, whatever. But it was a great car for me. Unfortunately, I spent most of my time trying to fix that car. Now, I didn't really get hands-on with it, except for like doing like brakes, and like me and my dad changed the my dad and I changed the exhaust, little things like that. I didn't do anything major on that car. I think the most major thing I did was, besides changing the coolant hose, was doing the alternator and AC belts. That was it. That's all we really did. And I always had issue with the car electrically. It had a short. It was just too much. And I was a young kid, and I was like, yo, I'm gonna hook this car up, and I'm gonna make it look like Jesse's car from Fast and Furious. Fast and Furious just came out. I was hyped, and no, it didn't work like that. You know what I mean? I spent all my money that I had put aside to hook the car up to make it look cool and flashy, and the sound good. I was a noob. I didn't know why turbos and different things. I didn't know about any of that. I was just like, oh, you just paint it and you just do a little pipe here and there. You change air intake, it's gonna sound like you're gonna get that sound. Like I was young. I didn't really know about cars to that extent. But the final straw of that car, what made me get out of that car was that I was driving to work one day and my car shut off on me on the expressway. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Not alternator. The coolant hose was ripped in half and my car overheated. I nursed it to my job and I spent my whole shift almost working with a coworker of mine, an older gentleman named Henderson, thank you for that, trying to fix the hose. And we got it fixed and I was able to go and drive my car home, and I was like, yes. And I had another coworker of mine said, yeah, Mike, man, now that your car's working, can you drop me home? I was like, yeah, no problem. I'll go to Brooklyn. I used to hang out there. So my cousin and I and my coworker, we drive to Brooklyn, and I remember like it was yesterday. I make this left turn, and those of you who don't know about Brooklyn, New York, downtown Brooklyn is very congested. They got movie theaters, malls, shopping centers, courthouses. Is very congested. No parking, nothing. So I make this turn, this narrow street, and my car shut off at me again. I was like, yo, what's going on? Look, alternator belt gone. So I was like, man, I don't know what else to do. The car had no power. I called my pops. My dad came with his van, and he drove down to Brooklyn from Queens, and that's a good drive. And we did it the old-fashioned way to get home. I didn't have AAA at the time, and we had no tow truck friends. We just had to tow with a rope in the front of my car, rope in the back of the van, and I had to drive the car in those, in that manner. And it was the most scariest experience I ever had because it was raining. I had to slam on the brakes, no power steering, nothing. And I had to take the squeegee that I had and like squeegee the windshield so I can see. It was just bad. But we made it home. And at that point I was like, I'm good. I don't want this car no more. I'm gonna try to put some money together and get another car. Now, I didn't know, but my parents did me a solid. And my cousin, he's older than me, and he used to be into cars crazy. He had a lot of cars and used to race cars, and he had a 1993 Honda Civic EX. And if you guys are familiar with the first Fast and the Furious, those are the same. It looked exactly the same as the Honda Civics that they was driving under the trucks, except for the body kit and of course the performance. And I had that car, and that car gave me so much street cred, if you will. Girls looking at me differently, what I'm saying? I was like, yeah, I got the little car, they in the sunroof, had a little dress up things in it. I was more doing cosmetic things then. I was buying like little light up pedals for the inside to match the little light up windshield washer fluid thing that my cousin had on it. Buying a little air intake to make it look cool when you pop the hood. I already had wheels on it. It was nothing crazy, like regular size 14, but it wasn't stock rims and it looked good. I had a dent in the driver's side door, but you couldn't tell me nothing. I loved that car. And I had that car for a good 4 to 5 years. You know what I mean? And my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, I remember she bought me a nice Sony radio to put in there because she was working at Circuit City at the time. That's another throwback, Circuit City. That used to be the Best Buy before Best Buy was around. And I threw that in there. It had a remote control, so I went from having a tape deck with a CD player connection to having a straight up CD player with MP3 connections and everything like that. So it was dope. And I drove that car till the wheels fall off, literally. It started to give me problems later on down the line. I did basic maintenance like oil changes and brakes and stuff like that myself, but not to the extent that I am now. So I had that car for a while. It did a lot for me, but it got to a point where it started to give me a lot of trouble electrically. And also I had a little fender bender and they started to look bad, and I was like, look, I'm done with this car too. And I had parked that up, and I really wanted to get the experience of driving a manual car. You're watching the movies and you watch the guys driving, shifting gears, and how much more connected you are with the vehicle and how much more fun it was, at least in my eyes, to have a car like that. So I wanted one. So I put some money aside. At that time I was working a little bit more and I had more money, and I almost got a VR6 Jetta. But when I went to go meet the guy to buy it, I was in college then too, so when I came out of school and I was going to call him like, yo man, I'm ready to go buy. He said, I already sold it. So he sold it during the day, and I was coming after class and he already done sold it. So I waited some more, and then my cousin's friend, who was a mechanic, he had a Honda Civic that he hooked up. It was a DX 4-door. He hooked it up, he put like he swapped it, an engine swap. He did a lot of performance performance clutch, performance exhaust, all the different things. And it was too much for me at the time, and it was a dope car. It looked great. Every time I drove it, people like, yo, this like I custom paint job, everything. But it was too much for me at the time. I only had the car for 5 months, and within that 5 months, I only got to drive it for 4. Because the first month, because of the way he signed the title, I had to ship it down to South Carolina to get them notarized and sign it down there, to ship it back to New York for me to go to get it done. And then because of the engine swap, I had to, find a way to get my inspection sticker. It was too much. And the straw that broke the camel's back on that car, it was so low. I'm a big dude. I'm getting out the car. I'm looking like a clown coming out of a clown car. I can't park too close to the curb. It was just a lot. And what really got me to thinking and really made me sell the car was like one day I was going to pick up my girlfriend, which is my wife now, and I'm driving to go pick up, and it's like at the end of the month. And those of you who know, like when it gets to the end of the month, a lot of times you get a lot of traffic violation tickets because I guess quotas, right? I seen the cops pull over this other guy, and I'm like, man, he's in for it, I guess I didn't know I was in for it too. And mind you, I'm still learning how to drive a car with a manual transmission. So a lot of times when I used to try to catch, and it was a performance clutch, so the biting point was like crazy, I used to give it a lot of gas and rev it. So you would hear the exhaust and it would be loud. And I did that as I was driving off. And I'm driving, I'm making my turn, and I didn't make an illegal turn as they said I did, because I've been driving in that neighborhood, and that's my neighborhood. I've been doing that forever. They pulled me over. I'm like, yo, what the heck is going on? As soon as I got pulled over, the cop came to my car. He had the little device and put it on my window because my windows were tinted. Oh, the tints are too dark. You gotta give you a ticket for that. I'm gotta give you a ticket for your exhaust. You did make an illegal left turn, and we're gonna give you a ticket for that. But we're gonna cut you some slack. We don't want you to have any points in your license, so we're gonna give you a ticket for that sticker in the back. I'm like, what sticker? So now when I got the car, the guy had some stickers on the car, and I didn't take off all the stickers. I took off the main one. He had the top, the banner, but it had a little Union sticker about this big in the back lower left corner. It doesn't obstruct any view. And they gave me a ticket for obstruction. And I'm like, what? It's a Steamers Union sticker. So I had to go to court. My parents went to court for me because I had school. And I took pictures and stuff like that. And they threw away all the tickets except for the exhaust, because obviously you can't prove that in a picture that the exhaust is not loud. And I had to pay $45 for that exhaust ticket. And at that point, I came home and I was like, I think I'm going to sell the car. My mom was like, yeah, I think it's time. You know what I mean? It was just such an ordeal. And people see me while I'm driving. They want to race me because they hear the exhaust. And then with Hondas, man, people like to steal them. And I didn't want to have to go through all that hassle. So I just left it alone. So you know what? It was too low. It was my bumper getting scraped because I can't even go over certain speed bumps. It was just too much. So, excuse me, I decided to get rid of it. And I sold it to a gentleman, broke even. And I went, I got my Yukon, which is a truck. And then that's when I started moving towards the family vehicles. And then, I had like my, at least a Jeep after a while. And I'm in this Mazda CX-9 family car. That's what I'm in now. So anyway, the reason why I went with the E28, right? Now, I always wanted to have a secondhand car. Like I said, I love cars. And I always wanted to learn more about cars. You know what I mean? I'm a hands-on learner. So I like to do things with my hands. I like to visually see it and experience it. So for me, yeah, doing brakes and rotors and little like small things here and there, that's cool, but I wanted to be able to say I put a car together and rebuilt an engine and etc. So that was something I wanted to do, but I didn't want to just do it to any regular car. I didn't want to just have like a Honda Civic again, or some Toyota like a Corolla, or some other small town Toyota that I could have got. I wanted something that was unique. I wanted something that you don't see every day, and I wanted something that was affordable, obviously. But initially I wanted a 944 Porsche. That was something that I really liked. I really liked the body lines of that car. I thought it'd be cool to say I have a Porsche. It is what it is. But unfortunately, to find one that's decent, it was hard. Most people try to sell them for a crazy amount of money, and they would really be beat up, and it wasn't worth it. And then also parts for it and working on them, it could get expensive, and I didn't want to get too far gone with the expenses and buying a car for cheap. That's like really, $600 944, and the next thing you know, it cost me $5,000-$6,000 just to fix it. I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. I always like the E30. The BMW E30 M3 is my favorite BMW of all time. That's my favorite look. That wide body, it just looks so beautiful to me. And if I could afford one, I would have had one. But, that was the second option. So that was something that I was interested in as well. Now, how this whole process happened, I mentioned it a couple of times in my videos, was my father's van, that white van. That was the first brand new van that my family had owned ever. Now, my dad got that van brand new in 1999, I believe, and we went on our first Disney World trip in that. We went to DC, and it had the TV in the back. We played video games. We sat back there in a nice, comfortable chairs. A back seat turned into a bed. It was beautiful. I remember going to a dealership in Potomkin. I think it was called Potomkin Chevrolet in the city. It was something that was great, and it was ill to me. So it was a lot of nostalgia with that vehicle. But unfortunately, when my dad had the car, it had some issues, took it to the dealer. You know how sometimes dealerships can get funny when you start coming out of warranty, and my dad had a back and forth with them, and he had to go to court. And long story short, rather than take the risk of losing the vehicle, he decided just to cut his losses and bring the vehicle home. So the car sat in the yard for years with the engine disassembled because the dealer never put it back, and it just sat there. And when I was in between the Yukon, because the Yukon has ran its course, you know what I mean, and somebody broke into it, you know what I mean, I had to repair so many different things, the heater core went, and I was like, you know what, at this point, it doesn't make sense to be investing in this car. And, you know, I have a small child at the time, it's cold, we can't have no heat. I said, look, I need something new. So I was considering, I said, you know what, Michael, instead of spending that money, why don't you just see if your dad would give you the van and just rock with the van. I was just thinking about taking my family on trips and having a van. Told it to my pops. My dad was hating. He wanted to keep the van for himself because he wanted to, he wanted to fix it. So I get it, even though it's not fixed still. So be that as it may, I remember one year I was talking to a co-worker's of mine, and we were talking about the van and why I wanted it and what I was going to do and the money I would have invested in it, just because I could have bought another conversion van for maybe like $2,000 or $1,500, did some little tweaks to it. It's not the same. It's that van in particular. It's the challenge of fixing that van, which is what I wanted to do. And I was telling him, I was like, look, man, I found this engine dealership guy who had like engines for sale. It's the same engine my dad could do an engine swap and put it in there, blah, blah, blah. And he kind of, him and home at the time, he didn't do it. And after that conversation, I was at work, and I was talking to my coworker at the time about it. I left his office, and he pulled me aside. Yo, Mike, he's a BMW guy. So me and him was always talking about BMWs and different cars, and he had an 8 Series that I always liked, and he also had like a 7 from back in the day. And we used to always talk about, shop. And he was like, yo, Mike. I said, what's up, man? He said, yo, man, you want my 7? I said, what you talking about? Your 7 Series? He said, yeah, man, it's in the shop, man. I'm not going to keep it. And I was telling you about it. I want to give it to you. I'd rather give it to you because I know it'll go a good home and you can use that as your car. And I was like, word? I was like, I have to make a few calls. Now, keep in mind, this guy, he's a cool guy, you know what I'm saying? But he's always a guy who always kind of like talk things up and then like sometimes fall through, and not always the most reliable in a sense. You know what I mean? No disrespect to him. But at the end of the day, I was like, yo, man, this is going to be dope. So I called my mom and my dad. I said, yo, mom and dad, can I keep the car in the yard? You know what I'm saying? It's not like a beat up looking car. It's a nice car, because I know this guy, he really took care of his vehicles. He put money into those BMWs, and he made sure they looked the part. So I'm like, look, it's gonna at least, if anything, it's going to look like a nice fixture in the yard. There's, all right, cool. I spoke to the wife. The wife's like, yeah, that's good. You get it for free. That'd be cool. She made a joke with me like, oh, you can like, have a bake sale to buy parts and stuff. Like, we were joking around. So everybody was on board. I was hyped. And then I was waiting to hear back from him, and then things fell through. He said the guy, he forgot that he had it at the repair shop for so long, and the storage fees are high. It's gonna be like $1,500. And I was like, man, I don't got no money to spend that. I ain't spending $1,500 for no car. So I was like, forget it. And I kind of felt bad. So I was still looking, and I said, no, I'm not gonna lose out on this momentum. Everybody's on board, you know what I'm saying? I'm striking with the irons hot. So I kept looking. I almost bought an E30, but the guy who was selling the E30, he was just trying to sell it off the name and not of the quality of the car. The car had some rust on it, a non-running 4-cylinder engine. And I was like, yo, man, this car is a POS. Let me try to like what's works out now. So I offered him a little bit less than what he had. He was flaking, and then after a while, he decided he wanted to work with me. And then when I was going to come out there, he said, like, no, I'm going to wait a little bit longer. So I was like, I can't deal with this guy. So I found another guy on Craigslist while I was watching who had an E28. And I was like, the E28 is a nice body style. It's a little bit bigger than the E30. I'm a bigger guy. This could work out for me. And I spoke to the gentleman. He was very good to work with. And it was running and driving. That was the biggest thing. I had some little rust spots here and there, but nothing crazy. And I was like, yo, I'm gonna go with this guy. So I ended up calling him. I went out to New Jersey. I met the guy. He was a cool guy. You know what I mean? And he sold me the E28. He's moving to the south, and he said he can't take it with him, so his loss is my gain. So I gave him the money he asked for. We negotiated on, and I drove. He was nice enough to let me drive the car with his plates, and I drove the car back to New York. And I met him in the city because he's working in the city. I gave him his plates, and the rest is history. So I wanted that car because I wanted something unique, like I said. And I feel that I haven't seen any E30s out there. Not E30, E28s out there like that. Now, I've seen plenty of E30s out here. You know what I mean? A lot of people keep them and they drive them around, and it's cool, and I still like them. They're not as common per se as like a Honda Civic, but you rarely see E28s. And you notice when you get something that nobody else has, or you get something for the first time. Like when I first got my Jeep, I never really noticed the Jeeps until like when I got the Jeep, every 5 seconds I saw a Jeep. You get what I'm saying? Same thing with the car I'm in now. Like I never seen the CX-9, and then all of a sudden I got it. Now it's more noticeable. E28, since I had it since 2017, I only seen 2 other E28s. That's it. Since I had it in my New York City. You know what I mean? And I know it's probably more, but I'm saying that since I had my car and the boroughs that I've been in, I only seen it twice. And both times, well, the first time was when I was coming from Brooklyn. A guy was driving on it on a BQE. Him and his family was driving it, and then I seen one other person in my relative, like in my neighborhood, kind of, if you will, you know, the bordering neighborhood, had one. And since I seen that car, they sold it, and I don't see it anymore. So you don't see many of them, and I'm just hoping that once everything is done and I get this car to a decent standard where I can drive it comfortably, and you know, go to like Cars and Coffee or a car show. That's one of my biggest goals. And I just be able to sit back and say, man, like, you came a long way, bro. You built this car. You know what I mean? You did everything to it. You did a manual swap. The car was moving on its own power. You know, you rebuilt the front end. You rebuilt this, and then eventually, if I could get to like weld it, you know what I mean? Like welding some of the rust spots. It's like, I want that experience, and I'm really happy that I went that route. And I'm really happy I got this car. I'm grateful for the community, because the community has been very helpful. The people on E28, you know, Facebook groups have been really helpful with me as far as giving me advice when my car wasn't running, give me advice on what I should do, how I should do it, even pointing me in the direction to get certain parts. When I was looking for the manual swap, the guy pointed me to another guy, and I happened to get it, and I see people selling it for way more than what I bought mine for. It was something that I'm glad I'm part of this community, and the more I get deeper into like working on my own car and working on cars, you see how the community brings you together. Even today, like just going to the Harbor Freight and randomly talking to this kid on the line about car builds, and he talking about his performance build, and never, you know, boost your car because always brakes. You know what I mean? I'm saying I'm not even at that level yet. I'm just doing basic maintenance and just getting my car to, you know, run properly. It was nice to have a conversation with somebody, and it always brings people together, and I like that. So I want to thank you guys for watching. I know it's a talking video, about 20 minutes or so long. I really do appreciate all the support from those who have watched my videos, those who have helped me with my build, those who have support me, you know what I mean, on a mental, you know, capacity, and help me, you know, troubleshoot things. And I'm really grateful, and I really do hope you guys have a great weekend, and you guys stay safe during this quarantine, and may God bless you all. Take care.